Good evening, my name is Big John. Tonight, I'm gonna be digging into this Ferris mower. My buddy Sam and Matt back from Pennsylvania hooked me up with this mower. They really didn't know much about it other than it doesn't run. If we go through and look at this, it's missing quite a bit. I'm pretty nervous about whether or not it's gonna be able to run by the time I'm done. So this is a Ferris walk behind mower. Normally there would be like a little dolly off the back someone could stand on and ride. This is self-propelled, so the left and right joysticks allow you to drive it kind of like a zero turn and mow around. 60-inch deck, it's like a 20 horsepower motor. Whenever I picked it up, the intake cap was missing off of there. I slapped the glove on just because it was sitting outside in the rain for a period of time. On this side, there should be a fuel tank. I do still have a battery, but that's dead. This mower deck should have a big shield covering the top of it. We're missing a pulley that should be on that stud right there. We're missing the drive belts. Those are all gone. The chute's gone. That's not surprising. Up on the control station, when Sam was loading it, he got a little carried away with his loader. He just hooked that and picked it up. Over here, we have our choke that got beat up. Throttle lever. If we look at the hours, we have 1,600 hours. So it's not new, but it's not old. Key switch is definitely missing a key and some other things. This would plug into your PTO switch. They did have a bracket on there. That would be for your dolly sitting out here. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is try and hook a battery up to the motor and then see if it'll crank over. That's step one. This entire engine could be toast. If that's the case, this is definitely not worth me working on at all. I don't know if you could hear that, but the shutoff valve on the car appears to be opening and closing. Yeah, it appeared the key was on. So here I got our PTO switch. It's 4-prong, or it's 5-prong. Shouldn't be able to mess this up. Look at that. We got our key. So full transparency, it's definitely not gonna start. There's no fuel. Let's see if it turns over. Ooh, we got nothing. Ooh, we do have something. Sweet. We got the old Puff the Magic Dragon. We'll shoot a little bit of it in. See if this thing will fire up. Well, it definitely ran. I probably flooded it with the amount of starting fluid I put in there, but hey, it's progress. We'll, as a next step, try and find a fuel tank. I'll hook up to this and we'll try and give it some actual gas, see what happens. Well, if you look right here, our fuel pickup tube is slashed off. So my temporary solution is going to be one Gatorade bottle with a hose fed through the cap. There we go, that should work. It's the yellow Gatorade. Well, we need to make sure we're not putting unfiltered fuel in. Now we're good to go with our nice fuel Gatorade. All right, we got 2 zip ties. I don't think it's falling over. And it might shake a lot, but we should be good. All right. And with that, let's give it some actual fuel, see if this thing will start. Oh, see, it's pulling the fuel up. Holy cow, this thing fired right up. It runs pretty well. In order to try and get this thing to move, this lever needs to actually slide down. That requires me bending it up, so let's knock that out real fast. We'll just see if I can give this thing a nice little tweakage. It's almost free. There it is. Okay, now we fixed our lever problem. Kind of. We fixed it enough for now. Ooh, that's not good. It appears both our hydros are bone dry in the reservoir. Oh no. Little guys, you okay down there? I think we might be running into the reason this got parked. A little bit of oil is better than no oil. Let's see what happens here. Will it start? That's pretty good. Bummer. Let's try and understand the linkage a little bit more, try and understand why both these are now bone dry. Maybe we'll be tearing into the hydros before we know it. If I had to guess, on these things, the hydros go, it gets parked, parts get scavenged off. I'll have to see what I want to do. At least these hydros, relative to the stand-up, they're easy to get to. I may or may not be willing to rebuild them. We'll see what parts are like. Go from there. I went to the store, picked up some 20W50 oil, put that in some of the reservoirs. It looks like this guy didn't really need to take too much more. This one went down further, so if there's an issue, it's probably gonna be with the right hydro. What I did remember is when I picked these up, I put them in freewheel state, so I need to go and do that, and that will now allow the right hydro to turn and do the same thing for that side. All right, let's try this again. Oh, buddy. All right, that's awesome. It moves, but let's probably jack this thing up with the forklift, make sure the wheels are off the ground instead of taking out my shelves. Well, I think I got the controls figured out a little bit better now. I had the park brake on originally on the right side. That's why it wouldn't move. I'm gonna drop the forklift, take that outside. We're gonna fire this thing back up and actually try and drive it around, make sure we have power on both the hydros. Then we can start digging into the next issue. So we got the engine down, the hydros are working-ish, and next step was probably dig into tuning up the controls that are all bent up on the top, work on figuring out the PTO, what's going on with that, and then hopefully we'll have a working mower here soon enough. Okay. Well, my current problem is the key doesn't really stay in the ignition. So where'd the key go? Uh-oh. My new ignition switch showed up in the mail, so I'm excited to try this out. Should make it a lot easier to start this thing and stop it successfully. I'm also planning on pulling off the PTO from this mower. When I was looking at it earlier, it looked like the whole pulley was bent. I'm not sure if something's broken in the pulley or something's really messed up. And this one is full, but the other one is bone dry. We do have a little bit of a leakage problem. Once we're happy with where everything else on this is, I'll pull the hydro last, go through and change out whatever seal's leaking. That can tend to take a little while. I'd rather have this thing in a good spot, all finished up, and then we can go from there. Of all the fixes I can do, this one's probably the most straightforward. We'll just pop this connector apart. It's a 6-pin, matches our new guy, just like that. Time for the moment of truth. Stick the key in. Look at that. Let's try out the PTO clutch on this machine. In order to do that, I need to hook up the belt. There's a missing pulley up here on the front. I got some spare pulleys from fixing up the Z2 Ferris mower over here, so I might be able to slap one of those pulleys in, at least just to try this out. We'll see if we can get somewhere close. So it goes back like that. Do one of those, do one of these, do one of this. You know, that looks to be way closer to what we need. The PTO switch does not work. So we'll have to dig into electrically what's going on down there, make sure all our wiring's right. This thing just smoked us out a little bit. I had gone and ordered a new topper and a new filter, so we can swap those out right now too. Oof, I forgot how this thing might have a little bit of the mice problem that had been living in there. Ooh, they definitely been living in there. Look at that. Just melted that right through. Something had gone terribly wrong in there. I don't know if that's backfiring or what. Our outer filter. This thing's probably gonna run way happier now. So no more rain getting in there. That'll be good. So thinking through this, I'm not sure if it being in park or not has to matter, so we're gonna try this again. So that's really good news. Based on that, we don't have to do any electrical troubleshooting. I forgot there's probably a safety handle or something that I wasn't hitting before, which was, I think I'm gonna pull the deck off this. That way I can flip it around a little bit easier, and then I'll pull the hydros. So let's get to it. Wonder how heavy, ooh. Well, that's funny. I did not expect it to go that easy up. Wow. So what gets hurt when this thing falls down? Anything? Nothing. I think we're good. There's some pulley work I need to work on. Yeah, that one we'll have to tune up. We'll fix it here in a little while. All right, let's get the 2 hydros pulled out from underneath this mower. Underneath each hydro unit, there's this like metal shield and guard. We're gonna zip that off before we put the jack stands underneath. That'll give us some more clearance. Yummy. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of oil leaking on these. There we go. 13/16. I wouldn't mind changing out these tires. They've had cut sidewalls and things like that. We are going to drain the oil out of it. Okay, sweet. Not too bad. Generally, if we just follow all of the buildup and the wetness, it looks like it's mostly up here on the top, not kind of down on the bottom where you have your other seals and things that can leak on this. We'll pull that pulley off, we'll pull the seal out, and that should fix this. We're up underneath here. We need to relieve the tension, drop the belt out here. So if I do that, I should be able to. There we go. There we go. Took way more work than it should have. So the levers I just took off there, these are your actual forward and reverse levers. Got it. One pops off. So all our control mechanisms are disconnected. There it is. It just didn't want to come off the thread. Whew, yummy. This thing looks terrific. All right, we got one hydro out. And we got 2 hydro out. Let's go clean them up, get them torn down, put them on the bench, and figure out what parts we need to order. All right, we got the hydro units all cleaned up now. I wish I would have used the pressure washer to really get them clean, but I'm not actually going to tear this open. So today, what I'm really focused on is replacing the input seal on this shaft and then the pressure relief seal on this shaft right here. These 2 are our primary ones that we like to replace. Since they're on the top, any dirt, oil, things like that end up sitting on top of the seal, slowly will try and work their way down in. And that normally wears the seal out quicker than some of the other stationary seals on the side, like your swash plate lever here and your park brake lever on the other side. We'll just back that out. That comes right off. We'll have our washer, we have our pulley, we have our fan, and then we have a hub. What you can now see is we have our input shaft here. You can see how much gook is just built up down inside this. Really, that's probably the root cause of our issue. One thing that I like to look for too is if you push on the input shaft side to side, you can see if your bearings are starting to go. This one doesn't seem like the bearings are shot yet. You'll have a little bit of play up and down. That's fine. That's really whatever's in the snap ring. There's a snap ring inside here. I don't have the correct snap ring pliers that are strong enough to take this one out. Instead, I use a pair of pliers like this. And what we'll do, we'll just come in right like so. And we're out. Put that back on. Put our pulley back on. And if we actually tighten this back up, we'll be able to use this to pry up on the whole assembly. There it goes. And you can now see this assembly coming up. Input pulley will be here turning. This will rotate the shaft. You have splines here. This drives your actual pump. Right here is another bearing surface. for a support bearing. And then way down here on the end, this is actually your gear pump that pumps oil and charges for the variable swash plate. Your seal can just slip right off. I'll order up a new seal. We'll go through and clean that up. While we're here, we'll also change out this shifter seal since it's relatively easy. I just take a small screwdriver and start working and to pop up this retention clip. I've broken mine. Whoopsies. But you can take that piece off. It's not too much trouble. Underneath here, you'll have a similar spot with a whole bunch of gook in it and grease. So this one we do have some snap ring pliers. We'll go in, pop that snap ring out, pull up this whole shaft assembly like so. See, we got a whole bunch of gook and crap on it. And then this seal, I just take a screwdriver, flathead, pop it underneath the seal, and pry it up on out. All right, the long wait is over. I'm ready to put this back together. I have a brand new fan wheel. We got a new oil filter right here. And then most importantly, we have our new seal kit. First step, let's change out the oil filter. This was hand tight from last time. Or it should have been hand tight. There it is. We went and actually bought the legit Hydro Gear filter. It wasn't that much more. We're gonna make sure we lube up the O-ring. And this guy gets spun on, what was it like? Tight, and then 3/4 to one more. This will hopefully let anybody know they don't need to change these out anytime soon. The piston here just became misaligned with everything else. There's the hydraulic pistons inside there. And the swash plate is directly coupled to this plate on the outside. When that moves, everything moves inside. Okay, so we're good there. What we need to do now is down in the bottom, our gear pump will have to line up with the spline. We are able to line that up. There it goes. Okay, now we have everything lined up. The next step I want to do is actually put oil back into this cavity. So the oil I'll be adding today is just 2050 weight. I am putting just conventional into this unit. I'm not as worried about the cold weather operation. Otherwise I'd put synthetic in. This thing's a lawnmower, it'll be just fine. All right, so we have our seal, and we have a socket. We'll use this to drive down the seal inside the bore. One thing I like to do, anytime you have rubber lip seals like this, put a little bit of grease on the inside. There it goes. So now I got that shaft in there. We will get our snap ring. There we go. We'll put our neutral switch back in. So we have our seal. We're just going to put a little bit of grease inside on that lip. That will help lubricate it. And we'll push the seal down nice and easy. Give it a little tap. This is our main hub. That guy lives right there. Our old fan blade and our new fan blade. And so we'll be swapping it out for the new one. They look pretty much identical. The fan sits down like so. We have our top hub on. It goes something like that. We have our spacer, washer, thingamabobber. And then to top it off, we have our retention nut. If I spin this and I push the lever, you can see our output actually changes direction here. That shows that functionally we're still moving the way we need to inside this unit. So my plan is use the floor jack right here, kind of help me slowly raise this thing up once we get going, without too many issues. Okay, so the fan's good. And then we have 2 bolts on the far side of the axle, 1 bolt on the front, and 1 bolt in the back that all drop down. You can drop down the jack. Should help take some of the pressure off. Now our axle is attached. Let's go hook up some of the control joints. We have a main bolt here, a spacer, all that comes together. And then a nylock nut on the far side. But we'll get the hose on, like so. And we're done. That's hooked up. The last step will be to hook up our 2 hydros to the motor pulley. So the manufacturer is nice enough to put this nice little diagram up under here. You have the square bolt here that you're able to put tension on that spring, giving your belt slack as you flip it up and around all of your hydro pulleys here. Ouch, that hurt quite a bit. There we go. And it's tensioned. I think we're finally ready to fire this thing up. Let's see what happens. So my goal for right now is turn on the engine, get it running, and then I'm gonna make sure that the drives on either side are still actually working, functioning. It's gonna sit here probably overnight. I'll double check and make sure we don't have another leak or any problems that I need to take them off, and we'll go from there. So let's see if I remember how to drive this. Park brake is on. We'll pull the choke out, and we should be able to fire it up. Looks like they both sides spin. We should be good to go. I think that's gonna call it for a wrap tonight. I got both hydros installed. We'll see what tomorrow brings. While we're tuning this mower up, I wanna do a few things to the mower deck while we have it flipped up here. One of the things is replace the sad wheel. Definitely seen better days. New ones are cheap off the internet, so we'll get this thing swapped over. Wow, that thing does not want to move. Come on. Guess we'll just cut both sides. Got it. So this little spacer right here is what was causing us so much pain. It seems to have seized to the bolt shank here. It didn't want to come out. What is interesting is under the right amount of force, it just likes to slide right on through. Well, we are way better than we were before. The wheels definitely improved. Next. All right, we're getting close to having this thing wrapped up. What I'm going to work on next is quickly installing these guards to the hydros. I then want to work on straightening out some of these travel limiters. So normally we'll have like a rod with a roller off that cylinder. This thing apparently has hit some things, tweak that over. I'll try and bend it back a little bit. Okay, that will stop it from tipping up on us. Now you can see we're much more perpendicular in line with everything. Should be good to go. So we'll put the bolt in from the far side. We need to have the plastic spacer washer going first. This guy gets sandwiched here. Then we have a roller with the center lug. This actually goes into the plastic piece, like so. And we have a roller and a washer and a big flange nut. That's all it is. And you can see how this strap rides on that roller and prevents the deck from just using these hangers here to prevent it from running into the wheels. So our current fuel tank is a little short on capacity. Also, it's rather a pain to get refilled. So we're going to swap that out for the actual gas tank. We have a brand new tank here, brand new fuel tank mount, new straps, and we pretty much just have to bolt everything up. So we'll get these put on here real quick. So this is a pretty much a rideable wagon that follows behind the mower on this older style of zero turn before they really had the ride on and pretty much ride on mowers. They had this commercial grade ride behind mower. This is a kit I bought off eBay. It was, I don't know, 270 bucks. It looks pretty sweet. It has a lot of articulation, a lot of different points. So they included this nice heavy duty bracket that is what mounts onto the back of the mower. The instructions want you to have it 12 inches off the ground. Go something like that. That guy out there. And this goes down like so. Easy peasy. That is weird. I'll be honest, I just drove that for the first time, just did a couple hot laps in the front of the garage, and I'll be fully transparent. This thing, this whole system scares the crap out of me. So unlike a normal zero turn that in order for you to go forward, you have to push the levers forward and hold them there. If you let go, they come back to the middle, you stop, everything's good. This thing, you push this lever forward, you're going forward. The machine doesn't care, nothing cares. It'll just keep driving on into the sunset until you let go of these handles here and you hit the dead man. At that point, you have to wait for the entire engine to die, which this thing could go, you know, another 20, 30, 40 feet if it's full bore going forward. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I think I want to actually try cutting my yard with it, see how it really works. But I feel like if I mess up operating this, I'm gonna hurt myself somehow. Either I'm gonna like twist my leg into something, I'm gonna fall over and this thing's gonna drag me across the yard. I don't know, but I'm willing to risk it. Other people apparently make it work, so we'll see what happens. Birds are chirping, it's warm outside. I'm ready to fire up this lawnmower and go try it up. Unfortunately, the grass isn't quite growing yet, but there is some old brush down in the waterways. I think we can run it through. So as you can see, our grass really hasn't been growing much at all. This seems like it'd be a pretty good challenge for the mower.
was quite an experience. I think there's a reason zero turns have pretty much taken over this market. As far as driving this and mowing, it seems like it has more than enough power. The mower deck works fine. It seems like from a grass cutting standpoint, this is a perfectly okay machine. The problem I have with it is anytime you're going around and you hit a bump or something else like that, the entire front end is coming up off the ground, and that to me is a major problem. I don't like the rider on the back. Maybe it's the two-wheel style, maybe a single wheel would be better, but every time I would hit a bump or something else like that, my body's pivoting, it's twisting, I need to react to counteract it. I'm sure that gets easier with time, but for me, it just doesn't make any sense of why this is a better machine format than the stand-up rider I have in the back. My plan for this machine at this point is I'm gonna post it to the marketplace, I'm gonna sell it. Somebody might love this style machine, might love how it operates, and this might be the perfect machine for them, and I'll be happy to let it go. We'll see where I go in price-wise. I'm thinking somewhere between the $1,500 to $1,700 range for this particular machine. I think that's probably a reasonable price for it. It has 1,600 hours on it, so really, you're probably gonna get another 400 out of it before the engine blows up or the unhydro goes or something like that. So my name's Big John. Thanks for watching.